Hey, well, welcome again, everybody. Welcome to Fieldstone4U. My name is Robin Sinclair, and I'm the Executive Director of Fieldstone Leadership Network of Orange County. Robin Stropko is on the call. Wave Robin Stropko. So when you get emails, 99% of your emails come from that Robin, but we work right near each other, so it's really okay. But just so that you can put a name to a face if you haven't seen us before. The history of Fieldstone4U is very simple. When we were all ordered to stay at home, we thought, how can Fieldstone be there for our nonprofit community? So we created these Zoom webinars. Oftentimes we would ask our leaders what you needed, and after we heard from you, we would find somebody that was an expert in a particular area, and we would put together a Zoom webinar. And so this has just grown exponentially, and now we have a YouTube channel where Robin is able to store all of our webinars that are not confidential in nature. There have only been a couple that we have not recorded, but majority of them we have been able to record. And it's been fantastic because then our leaders can go back and review them at a later date. They can share them with their team. The resources are in the chat. So Robin does a great job of emailing everybody the link afterwards, but if you ever forget, you can just go to any one of Robin's emails or my emails, and in our signature line is the YouTube address, so you can access them. So please share them with your friends, your family, your social media. They're here to spread the word and help our community. Just a little bit of housekeeping. If as we get it, well, normally I say mute yourself, but we don't want you to mute actually, because we want everybody to participate in this particular webinar. But if you see that you're cutting somebody off, pay attention to that and just be mindful. We don't want to cut anyone off. If you're just joining us, please make sure that you add your organization to your name so that we know who you're with, but we will give everybody an opportunity to introduce themselves. I do want to thank our corporate sponsor, First Republic. Janet Buck and Maren McGill have been incredible partners to Fieldstone. They jump on the calls when they're able, and they will be participating in another PPP Q&A. How's that? Coming up. So, there's a lot of mystery around the PPP loan and the forgiveness piece, and I've asked them to come on a call in the next few weeks, and Robin will be sending information out about that. But they're incredible friends to the network and to the Orange County community. So I want to thank them. At this time, I'd like to have everybody introduce themselves. So if you are on mute, unmute yourself for that time and tell us who you are, your position, and who you are with. And then we will end with Melinda, who will then introduce herself. So Christine, I'm just going to start with you, and then you can just popcorn it and you just can turn it over to somebody.
Okay. My name is Christine Brewer. I am with Laguna Beach Seniors at the CZQ Center in Laguna Beach. I am the program volunteer event coordinator for this organization. I've been here for 10 years and I really have enjoyed working here. It's been very rewarding. Unfortunately with COVID, our building is bare and there's no one here. It's like a ghost town. But luckily we're able to do many Zoom programs. So, that keeps me pretty busy, and, our goal is to keep our seniors active and connected. So I'm very glad that we're able to do that still with this whole COVID going on still. And our doors aren't going to be open probably until next year. So, which limits, the volunteers that I've worked with, most of them would actually volunteer here at the center, which right now I only have like 2 volunteers occupied with some of my admin duties. So, but that's it. That's it. Next.
Nancy Chase, do you want to go next?
Sure. I'm Nancy Chase. I'm with the Mirage Jewish Community Center, and I'm the lay leader of the JCC Cares Group, which is the community service group. And what we do is volunteer in the community. So we're challenged right now, but I'd love to hear what everyone has to say.
Mel? You're on mute.
Hi, my name is Melissa. I'm the volunteer coordinator at Casa Teresa. I'm also a house mom. So during this time, we've had volunteers come and drop off meals for our residents. So they're not able to come inside, but they're able to drop off a meal for our 20 residents. And we also have a couple of longtime volunteers that were willing to come back at their own risk. So it just, shows how committed they are to Casa Teresa. And yeah, that's about it.
Kathy?
Hi, I'm Kathy with Friendly Center. I'm the CEO, and I didn't hear the complete question. What all would you like us to share?
Who you are, what you do, and what organization you're with.
Okay, yeah, and so Friendly Center is a comprehensive family resource center for low-income families.
Great, thanks, Kathy. Dawn?
Hi, I'm Don Han, Orange County Human Relations Operation Manager. So I've been with the agency for 20 years. We're a human relations organization that do conflict resolution in court. We do school program. We do community building. We're responding to hate crime and hate incidences in Orange County. We're about 23 staff right now. But every year we're on an average about 7 to 8 full-time staff in terms of hours per year through our volunteer and interns. So our mediation program have a huge volunteer and internship program that connect us to local university, UCI, Cal State Fullerton, and Cal State Long Beach, because they have study in mediations and peacemaking. So I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Great. Brianna?
Hello, everyone. My name is Brianna. I'm the volunteer coordinator at Families Forward, and I also have Marissa Hall, who's the volunteer manager on here as well. So I'll go ahead and let her provide a little bit more background about our volunteer opportunities right now.
Hi, I'm Marissa Hall. I'm the volunteer manager at Families Forward. Thank you so much for hosting this webinar for all of us. I think it's really great. We're really looking forward to hearing a lot of feedback from the different organizations and hearing from Melinda. But I just wanted to share a lot of things have changed during this time for our organization as a whole. Most of our staff is working 100% remote. We do have several volunteer groups that are working with us on site, and I'll have Brianna share a little bit about that. But we've been very fortunate that we have had some volunteers come back and support us on site and some virtually. But things have changed quite a bit. We used to have over 100 volunteers work with us on a weekly basis, and that number has changed drastically. So I'll let her share a little bit about those numbers.
Yes, so we, like Marissa mentioned, we had over 100 volunteers at our facility, but now we have just 24 coming in a week. With our pantry, we are able to have volunteers sort the donations that we are receiving and also create bags to provide food to the clients on a weekly basis. So that's what our volunteers have been doing. They have been such a great support system to us, as well as, helping clients with providing them resources that they potentially might need. So that's a little bit about how our food pantry is running with the help of our volunteers.
Alyssa?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm working from home today like most of you, which has been a blessing in disguise during this time. So I apologize, I was out painting something in the garage. But yeah, my name's Alyssa Casper. I'm the Community Involvement Manager for Olive Crest, and Olive Crest is based out of our headquarters is in Santa Ana. We're a foster, most people know us as a foster adoption agency, but we provide services anywhere from, oh sorry, can you guys hear me? Good. We provide services from foster adoption to kinship and parenting classes, wraparound program, a visitation center. We have transitional aged youth housing. So just a lot of a variety of different things. And I don't know, we've had kind of a different type of volunteer pool that we've been pulling from and kind of pulling at the heartstrings of people. So eager to hear what your guys is, just what you guys have seen and what we can collaborate on. So I'm very grateful for you guys hosting this today. So thank you so much, Robin.
Bianca?
Good afternoon. My name is Bianca. I am the volunteer and intern manager with Working Wardrobes. We are a workforce readiness program that works with veteran population, senior population, homeless, and we also have a wardrobing center where we place our clients in a wardrobe and as they get ready for their interviews. We also have 4 resale stores throughout Orange County and a donation center that receives thousands of donated items every week. So we have had a very challenging year. In February, the organization experienced a 4-alarm fire and lost everything in their donation center and administrative offices, which also housed our career center. So we were in a temporary location until COVID hit, and while we were shut down due to COVID, we moved our services virtually. So we have been we've probably done now 35 virtual workshops with our clients. So we've actually been able to reach a wider audience than we would normally see in person, which is great. But it also gave us the opportunity to move into our new location. So we just recently reopened our Career Success Center and Wardrobing Center, which is now separate from our donation center, which is located 3 miles away in Irvine. So we have volunteers in 7 different locations throughout Orange County. So our retail stores have recently opened limitedly. So we have volunteers there, virtually here at the Career Center and at the donation center.
Lynn.
So I'm Lynn Dobesy, and I work with the International School Project, and I've had the opportunity to go through the Fieldstone Learning Group with some of your employees. So I'm really enjoying seeing others of you who direct those projects. There were some really great people that we did a learning group with for about 9-10 months. And we do an introduction of character education curriculum into public schools in 31 countries. So I may be the only international nonprofit on board here, but we'll see what we can all glean together.
Thank you for joining us. Janet Buck.
Hi, I'm Janet Buck from First Republic Bank, and I'm fascinated with the topic. I don't know, I am a volunteer at times, so maybe I'll learn a little more about how to be more impactful. But thanks, appreciate being here today.
Humberto.
Hello, everyone. It's Humberto Rojas from Orangewood Foundation. I'm the Community Engagement Manager. My role at the foundation is to support with our 2 programs, which is in-kind donations and volunteers, really just to engage them and support us through ways of involvement. And as you guys are all hitting a lot of topics that agencies are, really just our volunteer positions, all of them got on hold for safety and health reasons. We just had to, do what's best, but really just wait. And everyone that I've been in touch with has been pretty flexible and understanding and patient, because they know that it's tough and interesting times, and they're ready to get engaged and volunteer. But one ways, I saw the questions, but really it's just you keep in touch with them, updating them what's happening. What are your safety protocols that we're taking as an agency? And really right now, we went from having, I'm trying to recall back in March when, COVID was barely happening, but we're probably having like 1 to 5 volunteers a month, and it's very rare. But it's just ways for us to get creative. And thank you for hosting this. And I'm looking forward to learn of many ways we could learn on how to engage our community to help the most vulnerable in our community. So thank you.
Judith.
Hi, my name is Judith with Human Options. We have volunteers in our hotline, and then we have about 10 to 15 student interns that we bring in from every year from different Masters of Social Work schools. And so right now we have very limited volunteers on our hotline, just about 1 or 2. But we are still bringing back our interns who we consider volunteers with us, but looking at the different capacities in which they can still provide services. So thank you for hosting this. Really, really looking forward to hearing more.
Being here. Ryan?
Hey everybody, I'm Ryan, Operations Manager at Thomas House Family Shelter. I've been there for almost 5 years. And we're slowly getting back into the swing of things with volunteers. We have, I guess, kind of what Judith said as well. We have interns that we're utilizing for our case management and for youth programs. And so we've had to go through some pretty extensive new rules with Cal State system in order to make that happen. But we've done it. And then starting to open things up to our volunteers. Our food pantry, starting to get volunteers to come back in. Small groups that are doing our monthly birthday parties for residents at the shelter, but just having to rewrite all of our rules as far as how many volunteers are on site at one time, what kind of waivers and things we need them to sign ahead of time or bring with them. So lots of changes that we've made, but we're slowly starting to see some successes of having volunteers come back in and get things going again. So glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Sue? Oh, there she is.
Hi, everybody. Oh, what a good group. Hi, I'm the Chief Development Officer at Pretend City Children's Museum. And we miss our kiddos here and we miss our volunteers for sure. Like many of you said, I mean, obviously our volunteer, core has literally dropped off because we're not open. But we've had a handful that have just wanted to come and help with admin work. Again, sort of, wearing their masks and socially distancing. And, these are folks that have been with us a long time. And I think we're that place of comfort for them. So of course, we're finding things for them to do. But yeah, I'm excited to hear kind of how people are being innovative right now. Thanks, Fieldstone.
Okay, and Melinda, I'm going to let you introduce yourself and then it's all yours.
Thank you so much. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay, great. It's very nice to meet you. I've been typing out what you guys are saying so I can remember it. So I'm the Senior Director of Volunteer Engagement at Special Olympics Southern California. And I've been there, I think it'll be 3 years next month. But I have been in the volunteer engagement field for about 17 years. And before coming up here to Orange County Fieldstone, I was a part of the San Diego Fieldstone, where I worked for a social service agency as the volunteer director there as well. So I'm very excited, and I appreciate the opportunity to just have those raw discussions of like, who's thinking about this? And I know what I have been experiencing or what I've noticed. I mean, obviously with Special Olympics, our programming is not happening right now, right? So we don't have coaches going to the field, and it will be a long time before that happens since our population is going to be more prone to COVID. So safety absolutely comes first. And it's kind of fun to think back during our COVID times, which is just, COVID times means something different to everybody. I can't remember if it was yesterday, 2 weeks ago, 3 years ago. We're kind of this vortex. But I think early on in COVID, was this rush to figure out, obviously, what are we going to do for our service delivery? And then almost, it traditionally is kind of volunteers as that afterthought, right? And so what we've been trying to work with in our organization is, for a long while, we've been trying to put volunteers back on the main stage because they are the only reason that we have services, right? Our coaches, our competitions, all of that. So we've already have dedicated the year of 2020 before COVID came along as the year for us to recognize volunteers, be intentional with our recruitment and doing everything we can to retain the ones we have. So we kind of have the right image in our head. And so what was kind of motivating as we were been putting together some different goals and strategies was to ask our question of, when this is all over, what do we want our volunteer community, even our existing volunteers and all of those potential volunteers out there, what do we want them to say when somebody asks them, how did you spend your time during lockdown? And this really is the perfect opportunity, although kind of that another layer of stress that we are all experiencing, but this is the perfect opportunity for us to be more relevant in our community, right? We want that answer to be, I was really involved with Special Olympics. I wasn't out there on the field, but I was doing Zoom workouts. I was doing all of that. So while we are kind of rewriting and reimagining some of our traditional volunteer roles, we are also trying to figure out, okay, how are we transferring that of what does that mean in a virtual setting? So absolutely, I hear a lot of what you're saying of some of your programming has to be just 100% be on hold, right? Christine, you're not gonna have seniors come in, vulnerable populations and all of that. And then to think, well, what can we do to keep those volunteers who support us? Answering that question time and time again of, I've been a long time volunteer of this organization and they had a lot for me to do. And what I've been trying to do, and you know, some of the questions that we had in the planning for this is oftentimes as volunteer managers, personnel, some of our biggest challenges isn't necessarily finding the volunteers or working with the volunteers. It's that collaboration and persuasion internally with our staff. So you'll see and hear some of those classic responses of like, you know, the arms folding, it's just gonna be a whole lot easier for me to do it myself. And now you've got the added stress and pressure of COVID, right? We're all doing the best we can. And so are our clients, and they deserve the best programming. And the best thing about it is we have volunteers, be it, you know, the students, even though you may not have consistency throughout each year, but all of those people have already demonstrated to you that they care about your cause. And so we just have to think of some different goals. So it's taken us a while at Special Olympics to even figure out what does our programming look like in virtual setting? Have we even reached every athlete? How are we doing that? Does everybody have access to Wi-Fi, to a computer? Or are they even comfortable if they, you know, do they know how to work a computer, all of that? And so we have to accept that some of our programming options aren't going to be perfect for every single constituent, but our volunteers have answers and we really need to take the time to ask them. So as a staff member, and like I was saying, trying to persuade, that's my very political way of saying push and nudge, persuade our team members that we're not the experts. We might have a title that says something, but just because we are getting paid does not mean we have all of the great ideas. And what better way to share with your volunteers how much you appreciate them is to just think of some things that need to be solved. So, I mean, Zoom is I wish we invested in stock early on as an organization because I think we'd all be doing really well. But, you know, we've been using Zoom as a platform for our athletes. Not every single one of our regions, and so I'm from San Diego all the way up to San Luis Obispo, we haven't been gathering all of our coaches or our volunteer leads or the volunteers who would typically be out there in the field putting a competition together. Have we done some targeted outreach to these different groups and just said, hey, okay, we don't have sports this year. What do you think we can do for our athletes? That one question can change their whole relationship with your organization. And our volunteers, just as I'm trying to remember who was also in charge of in-kind, right? I mean, our volunteers, they are donors. They're donating their time. And as soon as us as an organization realize that these are incredible contributions, mission delivery, then we can really be able to lace volunteer engagement as a strategy in every level of our organization. And once you recognize them as a strategy and not as a program, right? We're not, what's your volunteer program look like? Well, your programs are all over the place, and are you using volunteers? And same with strategy, same with finance, all of that stuff. And so it's a way for us to open the door for us to think of new ways to engage volunteers. So I'm gonna get off my soapbox just for a little bit because this is a dialogue, and what I'm gonna do my best is I know this will be recorded, which is awesome, but I'm also gonna try to capture some of the nuggets that you guys say as well so that we can share this. But I thought I just wanted to share a little bit about what we have done to pivot. Ooh, that word this year is overused. But what we have done to keep our volunteers engaged. And so from our original goal was, okay, we're going to recruit X number of volunteers. This new challenge that we're trying to fix is, what if we were able to conduct, just throwing out numbers, 10 Zoom gatherings for our constituents seamlessly? That was our new goal. So that's the problem that we want to solve, because as somebody who's leading a Zoom, we all know, I'm trying to learn it. There's so much I don't know. Breakout rooms, waiting rooms, controlling the chats, all of the different things. If we had a team of volunteers who can help us do that, what a great outcome measure that is. Of, I had 3 volunteers help me do X, Y, Z. So we're just retelling the story, and the story is our constituents, our clients, any of the program goals that we already have, how volunteers can be plugged into that. So obviously our coaches, a lot of them are conducting Zoom workouts. We have actually been sweating all week because we have Reach Every Athlete campaign, where we are welcoming new volunteers to help us physically call every single athlete in our footprint. So I'm one person, I don't have to be the one to coordinate all that either. So helping volunteers to help match people with call lists. We have people, we're using this time to do a lot of appreciation. So with our athletes, putting up signs, doing videos, doing all kinds of stuff so that we can send appreciation towards our coaches. There are definitely some handfuls, large handfuls, bucket loads maybe, of coaches that are thinking, oh, look, the fields are closed. There's nothing for me to do. I'm just going to unplug. So we also want to make sure that we're giving them that option, that that's okay. Like if it's stressful for us all, if you aren't in work or now you are caring for children and working and all the above, if you need to take this time off, that's fine. This is another opportunity for us to identify, is there somebody else who can do that role in this person's place? Or I'm a softball coach, I know how to do that. I like how I'm saying that. I'm not a sports person. I don't know how to do any sports, but we don't know each other. I could have lied. But for some of our coaches that are used to being on the field, they don't want to do anything virtually. I'm like, this doesn't even resonate with me. I have no idea what I'm doing. Then at least you give them that opportunity, so that's not a problem. We'll bring somebody in who's a little more tech savvy. This is a new wave of younger volunteers who may not have been able to do something, but now are on Zoom all the time. And of course, we want to make sure we are being accommodating with their time schedule, right? People are still working, people are still in school. So all of these are trying to be as flexible as possible. But there's a lot that can easily transition online, but I feel like the most important thing to really keep at the forefront of every agenda, every team meeting, every volunteer is that they have ideas, and the more people you can engage in your organization now, the stronger it will be when your doors open. And because people, it won't be out of sight, out of mind. So I'm going to pause, like I said I would several minutes ago, and see if any of you guys want to share how you are engaging your existing volunteers right now in this new climate, and then we can just kind of go around. So if you speak, just unmute yourself and then.
Well, Melinda, for us here at Laguna Beach Seniors, we have 2 sets of volunteers. We have, for my volunteers, they are here physically, whether they're assisting with bingo, they're helping me with administrative work or Monday movie, what have you. Then we have another set of volunteers under our Lifelong Laguna department, and John Fay, he is the Aging in Place director for this program, and he has approximately about 50 volunteers. So his volunteers, since COVID started, has probably done over 1,400 services, and that includes checking, with the seniors, making grocery deliveries, just outreach. Sometimes they'll go to the home and they'll talk to them, even if it's standing outside the door. So for those volunteers, this is what they've done prior to COVID-19. So this really didn't affect his volunteers whatsoever, but it affected my volunteers that helped me here at the center. So basically, I'm very limited with what I can have my volunteers do because there are no programs, and our center will not be open until hopefully sometime next year. So there's my limitation. I don't even know, like, how could I even have volunteers? And I know we have the social distancing, but our seniors, you know, that's the most vulnerable group of people are the seniors. And so I would never want to jeopardize their health in any which way, even me wearing a mask, what have you, and their volunteer desk happens to be in my office. Still, I think safety reasons, we don't have volunteers come here at this time.
I'm curious if some of those daily activities that you do when your center is open, if there's that type of virtualness.
Well, we do have about 34 Zoom programs, but between me and the program director and our director of care management, we start the Zoom meetings for these classes, whether it's Zumba or it's a writer's workshop. We do that because we don't want to have all these people being able to access all our accounts, our Zoom accounts.
Mm-hmm.
And then if somebody gets sick or what have you, at least if I get sick, I'm going to call my program director and say, I can't do this. Can you cover for me? So basically, there's the limitation with me physically. I am actually at work. I've been coming to work since beginning of July. I came back. But really, I don't know. Maybe you can help me. But at this time, I don't see how I can actually physically have volunteers, senior volunteers come here and assist me with programs. But I'm open to all suggestions. Anyone have suggestions?
I mean, for me, what I hear when I worked for a social service agency that had a couple of senior centers as well, and hearing those older adults say the days that they're not at the center, those are their faceless days, right? They see nobody. So if you talk about pulling on heartstrings and whatnot, and I understand that many of the volunteers who are at the centers are seniors themselves, and that's something that I can do. So I think at times like this, it is an opportunity to bring in a new type of volunteer, right? If attracting somebody else, especially if maybe those folks can lead their own Zooms, or maybe there are some kits that can be made, card writing, right? Connecting maybe seniors and high schools and seniors, since probably both of them are going through an interesting virtual time right now. Of course, there's a whole new layer of risk management that goes into it. So as some people are saying, rewriting your rules and your positions and all of that stuff, it's just another waiver, another thing to consider.
Okay.
I just had a conversation with somebody recently about how to engage board members, because we have to remember that our board are volunteers and we don't want our board members to go away. And so we had this conversation about what could we do to engage them. And one of the suggestions was to get them on the phone, calling people. So I would think even calling, your clients, Melinda, getting a board member, a volunteer to call and just check in on the people that you serve, or Christine, checking in on the seniors, or go through your donor database and picking up the phone and not asking for money, and making it very clear, I'm not calling to ask for money. I'm just calling to say hi and just checking in on you. And I would just think that would be so beneficial. It's a great activity for the volunteer, and it's just a really unique way for the people that you serve to feel that they are cared about by your organization.
I totally agree. And also for those board members who may also make phone calls to your volunteers who aren't able to be active.
Right.
So if they can't come in physically, then at least they get a touch point as well. But absolutely, that's great.
One way we are engaging our board members and really our volunteers at Orangewood is that I got a lot of phone calls and a lot of emails when COVID was happening, and they were like, what do you need? How are you guys doing? How can we help? And at the moment, we were all figuring it out, like, wait, what do we need? How are we doing this? So one strategic way that I was not able to, or I shouldn't say not able, but push them away or say, oh, let me call you back, or we don't know when we're going to resume volunteers opportunities. But one way that I'm able to really kind of retain and engage our board members and our volunteers is sharing your needs. your wish list. You're not really asking for money, but you're asking them like, if I think we all remember that time when there was no toilet paper or cleaning supplies or hand sanitizer. I had board members going out and looking for toilet paper, looking for hand sanitizer, looking for paper towels, gloves, things that are essential items. But that was just one way to keep them engaged, but keep them really interested and invested, but making an impact. And I shared with them, right now you're helping by bringing the supplies, but you're helping create awareness. Like, I'll give you a quick little example. A board member said, I want to be consistent and I want to help every week. What do you need every Friday that I could stop by and give you? And I said, you know what? Microwavable food. We need microwavable food. And those are just ongoing because, again, all of us, we went to Target, we went to Walmart, and we were seeing the low of demand in supplies. And I was able to engage this board member and telling him, okay, can you commit to getting microwavable foods every Friday? And sure enough, since March until this day, this board member has been dropping microwavable foods every week. So the way that helps me is that I'm able now to strategize our needs, but really engaging our community members. So that's just one of many examples. I could go into details. I know we're short on time, but I think this will help you guys and to get creative. And I think all of us have needs and opportunities to support them. And this is just one way that we're doing at Orangewood.
I think that's great. And I think that's also, at times, especially for staff members who are all, a diagonal slice from all levels of the organization, for us, it took a little while for people even to know how to answer the question, what do you need? So even on a strategy level, pulling together that, having that wish list ready, it's such a brilliant idea. But even having time as a staff to say, what problems do we need to solve this month, this week, and sharing that with others. What we've also been trying to do with our staff members is, oftentimes, they're the ones that are responding to those inquiries at any time. So we want to get them familiar with saying, these are what our needs are now, and this is what we need, but also keep in mind on a funding level. For us, as an event-heavy organization, our revenue streams are significantly limited. So we're also now trying to get our staff comfortable with the idea of talking to some of our volunteers, not making a direct ask, but just telling that story, right? I think especially within this field, there's a lot that we can do to better tell our story, the impact that our volunteers make. And so just to be able to say, without our events, a lot of our sponsorships aren't coming through. And so we're just making sure that we have enough funding to provide the best programming to our constituents in this model. If you're interested, I'm happy to send you instructions on how to do peer-to-peer fundraising, anything like that. But just, I think a big role that I play is just making our staff feel comfortable, because I personally am not the one who's answering every single call or every single email. I don't have that capacity, but it's those people in the field. It's all about building relationships. And so that's why we're making sure we have something for our existing volunteer pool and identifying that new problem we need to solve, that wish list, anything like that, of where we can introduce new folks into our work. Who else?
I just want to add on to that, Melinda, because it's so important. And Janet can relate to this because she works with the bank. I remember being very mindful of what the day jobs were of our volunteers. And they didn't always have an opportunity to find joy the way that we get to experience joy on a regular basis. Obviously, these days of late have not been filled with joy. They've been frustrating, but we are mission-based people. We are doing the work we are because we believe in our mission and our vision and our values of our organization. And we have to remember that not everybody gets to experience that. So any opportunity that we can to allow somebody specifically in the corporate world that doesn't get to experience those joyful moments on a regular basis, get to experience what we experience.
Yeah, and I want to add a few things to that because I did endow a fund in with students, and I mentor them. And so there's different things that I do, but I think that's really important to remember. You're all on the front line of delivering services, but the rest of us want to help. And one of the things that the fund that I endow there, they are setting up regular times, and they're actually being extremely concrete about what they need. And that's really helpful, because then I know people want to know exactly what you need, especially business people. They want to know, what do you need? And then be able to say yes or no. And it's just the concreteness of that. Because we do, like right now, I was doing the PPP program and bringing that up at our bank, and I was working a lot. So I'm busier than I've ever been, but wanting to help more than I've ever been. So it's that sort of duality. So being really clear what you want, and people do want to help, but it's really hard to figure out what people need. And I think to what you said earlier, Robin, you do the good work, and we should be able to give you what you need without having to ask. But most people don't. It's the connecting that's hard right now. But I think there's never been a time that I think people want to connect more, and we're all remote, we're all at home. And I mean, I'm more available now than I've ever been for those conversations, which is kind of the opposite. You guys are busier, but it's kind of weird. So I don't know if that helps, but I can tell you right now from a volunteer perspective that I think that you can it could be a really good time to reach out if you can gather volunteers that might have that skill too, and they're willing to do it. I think we're always afraid to ask for money, I think, and people are always afraid to ask people to ask for money, like to get those people, because I think it's the least comfortable thing, but it's not uncomfortable for me. So you got to find me.
I think that's a great point. And there's plenty of research out there that shows that people who do volunteer give 10 times more than somebody who doesn't. So that ask within your volunteer base, you already know those are the most committed people to your mission. So theoretically, that ask is easy. Now, to Janet's point, during this time, I mean, thinking of our sponsors, our grants, any of our funders, this is another way of deepening your relationship with your funders to say, hey, Bank of America, oh wait, I don't know, but wrong bank. Coca-Cola. We'll just, someone, for us, we've got a lot of big sponsors for our events, and without events, how do we keep our givers giving? So we are finding new ways to engage them. So while we're reaching out to our leadership, our board, our existing volunteers, we're also reaching out to our funders to say, hey, would you like to make some phone calls? Would you want to help us keep our constituents engaged? Oh, it's the easiest thing for them to do. And I'm tasked with recruiting 100 volunteers by next Tuesday to make 8,600 calls in the month of October. And I was terrified, and I'm already at 85 volunteers. So you just have to be deliberate and know what you need. So I think that is, and again, you're not going to have all of that taken care of right now if you haven't already done needs assessments with your team. I mean, right now, I am meeting with every single department and region to say, okay, we know what you needed when we were normal. We know you needed this many coaches, you needed this many fundraisers. Now that we have a better sense of what we look like, and that's still not totally answered right now, but we have a better sense of what that looks like. How do those roles change? What are we missing? And I can make an ask. I've been sending emails out and on every other week to say, here are 4 ways to support SOSC during COVID. And it is we have so many clicks, people coming in saying, I'll do it. And then you get a lot of people. And if you're not ready to accept that volunteer talent or that volunteer time, do not ask. There is nothing more infuriating to a volunteer and even to the staff member for people to twiddle their thumbs. So much of my work is working internally with the field staff to say, okay, you say you want a volunteer to do this. What does it look like? How are you going to support that person? Because really, we can find them, and you can find them a lot easier now. To Janet's point, everybody's home. It just might look a little different. And even asking your own clients of what are we missing? What do you think we need? They can help identify, like, you know what, I really want a birthday celebration, a birthday club, and there's a lot that we can do that's still within the appropriate risk management field, right? And still making a really incredible impact to the people you serve and giving the community an incredible way to be a part of our good work. And you're making those lasting relationships that when the doors open, that you be able to tell that story to say, look how we were able to stay relevant and stay alive, and now we need your help now to put the floors down on the floor, whatever that looks like. So there's so many parallels in volunteer engagement to development, and the stronger we can connect that, the stronger the community that we serve is going to be, because this is all about making Orange County and everywhere else the best communities ever, and having community members be a part of our mission is what it's all about as far as I'm concerned. Again, I'm on my soapbox, so I'm going to get off of that. Who else would like to say something?
Yeah, this is Bianca. I would just also recommend diversifying your ask so that you can reach different groups. So we usually saw our job coaches are one-on-one. We have 7 job coaches that are specifically trained to work on career development. They were doing it in person here at a career center. We immediately had to move to virtual workshops and actually have been able to reach a much larger audience. So now we do 3 workshops a week. Each workshop has about 30 people in it. We've had one that had 60 people from different states. We're reaching a wider group of clientele that we've ever been able to do in person. And these are topics like how to do Zoom interviews. How a lot of them have to do with how to just navigate in a virtual world as a person, in our case, looking for a job. So just having to really think about what the world needs, what our clients need in this time. So we've been able to shift our volunteers to do that. We've also seen a lot of people interested in virtual volunteering, so that we have been really trying to get creative around topics. People maybe have specialty topics that they want to talk about that maybe isn't about interview skill building, but just about, again, stress relief and yoga and some of the other things to kind of round out some of the workshops. At the same time, we also use a lot of volunteers from social community service clubs like National Charity League or National League of Young Men. They're used to coming in pairs. It's a mother-daughter, mother-son team. They're also used to doing big events and drives. So we said, create grooming kits at home and deliver them to our donation center. You can all do this. So we just started to come up again with a list of things that people can do at home, they could do over time, and then things that we still have in-person opportunities for volunteering as well at our donation center, but we've had to limit it, and so we've got a lot of parameters around on how to work safely there. But we've just been able to, again, diversify our ask and say, today we just really need, we need one particular thing, whatever that is. We don't, right now, for example, we don't need a lot of clothes because our stores are only open limited hours. We have a lot of inventory right now. So we want to focus on, jewelry or shoes or whatever the thing is. So it's constant, and we also plan out into the future. So if you really have your heart set on doing something as a group, for example, that then let's just push it out to November. Let's get you on that calendar at the end of the year. So it doesn't have to be right away, but at least they have something to look forward to if they're doing a drive or something like that. So those are just some of the things that we've been trying to work through, because it's amazing that the help is overwhelming. It's just about managing all of the help and what we don't want to say no to any of it. So it's just saying yes to the right things and getting us all on the same page. So I appreciate those thoughts too, Melinda. They're right on for us.
I think that's great. I'm a product of National Charity League, so if any of you want
you are. Okay.
I can do that. But I think that's such a great idea. In fact, we have a large NCL group that's putting together our end of fall virtual dance for athletes. So, you're getting them involved in new ways. And sometimes it's a real gift and other times it can be a new challenge. And ooh, you know what? Sometimes these times we need to learn new things. That's how we can see past that. So I love that. Thank you so much. And I want to learn more about your organization. That's a real passion of mine. Alyssa, did you unmuted yourself at one point? Do you have anything you wanted to say?
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to jump in here and kind of share what we were doing over at Olive Crest too, because I think what we're finding was from the very beginning how we were tailoring our messages to our volunteer pool. So when they were calling and asking like, what do you guys need? What can we do for you? If we didn't have the answer, it was disheartening for them. So we came up very close with our program, came up with a 30, 60, 90 day, what they anticipated the needs for, so that anytime a volunteer called, we either had an in-person, even if it was just at the office, it was virtual, or if it was a campaign that we were running. So we always had something for them to plug into, but then it was more so, it wasn't about the initial interaction, it was more so with the follow through. What we were doing was with the thank you calls and the, you know, letters to put in the mail, something for them to feel appreciated about their time. We saw that probably go much farther than we did just people coming through and sitting in an hour of orientation about what Olive Crest was, but it was more connecting with the volunteer to find out what their gift mix was also. So we found volunteers that, what I'm very thankful for is I keep telling everybody that during this time, we've all been in this crisis mode, but it's not happening to us, it's happening for us. And how can we utilize this as a positive influence in our community? So we've been able to reach so many more donors than we would, because we have more of the time capacity, because I can jump off this Zoom call and at 6 o'clock, jump on a Zoom call with my board of trustees, and then tomorrow morning be with somebody who's in San Diego and LA. So we're not spending the time driving, and our volunteers are finding that their time is more valuable, but they want to still be giving back. So as long as they had something that they could plug into, and we had something that kind of tailored to what their gift mix was, we just got really relational with our volunteers. So we had a group of like a Bible study who called and said, hey, we really love to bake. Like, do you have any need for baked goods? And we were like, in a normal setting, I'd be like, I don't know, like maybe, I mean, I like cookies. Do you want to bring them to me? Like, that'd be great. But I come from corporate America. So I only stepped into nonprofit world back in January. So I was only enrolled 6 weeks before COVID hit. And it was a very eye-opening experience, but it's been so much fun to kind of see how everybody's pulled together and worked through, and we get the opportunity to sit here like this. But with that group of women came together and every Thursday dropped off baked goods for our transitional aged youth. And now at Christmas time, because we've kept that relationship with them, and we sent thank you cards and we called to check in on them and asked how their families were, not just if we needed something, like we genuinely wanted to know how they were doing. They've now said, hey, can we essentially support and sponsor your transitional aged youth during Christmas? Can we provide them all of their, you know, we have 48 kids. Can we provide all of their Thanksgiving meals for them and pull our church in? Can we provide all of their Christmas gifts? So what we've done with that now is, as we're going into the Christmas season, we have our big event called Be the Miracle, which some of you guys may have either heard of through Olive Crest or have similar programs. But essentially what we're doing is, this light bulb went off a few weeks ago, and I'm working tirelessly now on the back end to get it, you know, come to fruition, because it's going to be a lot of work, but I think that the rate of return is going to be far greater. So we're asking people to sponsor entire programs and wrap their arms around entire programs, and have companies step in and go, yes, your kinship program, we relate to that. We have families who are part of your kinship program and they work for us. And we found a lot of people intertwine through so many things, that we have people who their heart is in foster care. So I've always had something in foster care, whether it was a campaign, whether, you know, again, like volunteer opportunities. But now, because we have these groups that have sustained us through COVID, how do we continue to sustain through the rest of this year and moving into 2021, when so many people are either, they're zoomed out, they like, my capacity of giving money is there, but I can do something. So we've just said, what's your something? So what we're doing is we're asking these people to wrap around a program. And with that, we've created a calendar that's going to go out to that specific group. So like, for instance, I'll use the Women's Bible Study group. They're going to get that calendar, and they're going to know every event for the next 4 months that has to do with transitional aged housing. And they're plugging into that. And we're sending videos of our directors, of our executive director, of some of the children, in saying why this group has been such a blessing to them. And then in January, we have a whole video component that's going to come out of the whole next 4-month season of an overview that will go out to each program that will then say, this is what you guys did, and here's what the rest of 2021 is going to look like. Whether it's virtual or in person, we're going to have a mix of everything. And then if you're able to continue sponsoring and finances allow, here's what it would cost to essentially sponsor a youth on a daily basis, on a monthly basis, so that we work very closely with our in-kind donations, with our donor pool, with our volunteers, but that there's really this overall aspect of these people coming into Olive Crest and feeling like they're part of our family. But I think that's because we've been so diligent during this time to really find out what these volunteers, like we all call volunteers or we call people or they call us and are like, what do you guys need? But we never really take the time to take it a step further to get to know who they are. And I think that's what, that's my cat, sorry. That's what everybody's looking for. I mean, this whole time, I don't have anybody aside from like work, like no one's called me and been like, hey, how you doing through this time? I'm like, I'm going crazy. My husband's home all the time. This is nuts. We have all these projects. He has a honey-do list and I'm going to pull my hair out. Wine has been amazing. Let me tell you, glasses of wine are great, but no one called me to do that. So I kept thinking like, what would I want somebody to do during this time? And so that we turned around and we started doing that. And we've just seen this transitional form in our volunteers where now it's like people they don't question when they call and they go, we have 200 duffel bags. And I'm like, great, I just received 200 duffel bags. I don't need any more. But it's how we're speaking to our volunteers. And it's not that I don't appreciate their heart and what they're giving. It's that, great, I actually know that this organization, so partnerships with you guys are really great, because if I don't know what your needs are and I take something in, I don't know that I can then redirect it and let that volunteer know that this is going to a really great cause. Doesn't mean that I don't need it, but I know somebody that does. But what you can do if you want to support Olive Crest is here are these things that you can do. So we've really taken the time to, on the back end, facilitate all of these arrangements. Our programs give us that 30, 60, 90. We do quarterly check-ins with our programs. And by having those lists, I had somebody who called me and was like, I have a basketball hoop to donate. And an hour later, one of my programs calls and she goes, I can't believe I'm asking for this again, but the kids booked the basketball hoop. And I went, I have a basketball hoop. Like, that just doesn't happen. But if I didn't have these relationships with people, it wouldn't come to fruition. So all that to say, I think on the back end, when we're talking about volunteers, it's not even just the asset we're putting out there, having something for them to do. I think it's so much more important to get to know who they are and find out where their heart is to be able to plug them into certain areas. And that's where we found is going to be successful. And I don't know what this, our video montage or anything for Be the Miracle is going to essentially look like. I'm hoping it's going to work out, but I guess we'll find out. So I'll keep you guys updated. But thank you guys all for your time in this. I've written so many notes down of everything you guys are doing. I'm excited to take it back to our team. So just thank you guys for taking the time to do this today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for all that greatness. Wonderful. Well, I know we're probably at time. So one of the Robins, Rob.
This was amazing. So thank you, everybody. And I do want to be respectful of your time. I'm happy to put this together in another month. I'm sure Melinda would be happy to facilitate again, because I think that as we emerge out of this, there will be varying needs, and we can only take in so many new ideas at a time. So I would like to use this opportunity to invite Melinda to do this again in a month. Yes? Good. So we'll make sure we get that on the calendar. Again, I want to thank Melinda. I want to thank First Republic. I do want to remind all of you that we are accepting applications for all of our learning groups right now. We are in active recruitment mode, so we're looking to fill our emerging leader, our senior management group, and our CEO group, and then we have some spots for our executive coaching. So if that's something that you are interested in learning more about, feel free to reach out to either one of the Robins, and we will get applications and information to you. Again, I want to thank all of you for really thinking broadly. I know I managed volunteers for years, and it's one of the hardest jobs I ever had. But we have to think outside of the range of what we're always used to doing. Volunteers at Habitat, they build houses, and there's other places then for those volunteers. So we have to think creatively, and this is a great group to be able to bounce those new ideas. So I know I personally got a bunch of new ideas for how we can utilize Fieldstone volunteers. So I thank all of you very much for your participation. Again, this will be recorded and found on our YouTube channel. I want you all to stay well and stay connected, and we will be in touch shortly. So thank you, everybody. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful. Well done.